Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Boruto anime review. This one's going to be for episode 185, which is called Tools. So we continue the AO arc and like the volume 6 adaptation here from the manga. And yeah, in this one we actually didn't cover like that much content. It felt like we covered about like half to like 3/4 of a chapter, but they had quite lengthy anime original scenes with Delta, Code, and Amado to make up for the fact that they didn't perhaps go as far with the sort of main plot as you would have expected them to. But I suppose this leaves it so that the next episode should pretty much be basically the full AO fight. Because they stopped right before it's about to happen, because they did all of the setup work in this episode. So next episode should be great, and then we go into sort of like, you know, the final kind of events of this arc, which is where things really kick off. Because I think that's probably the thing to say here, is that this AO arc is good within the grand scheme of Boruto, but I think it's the stuff that happens right at the end, which is where Boruto really kicks into gear. The introduction of Kawaki and where they go from there. That's really the what's got people really invested in Boruto. And so I think we're in a pretty good spot right now in that we're covering the end of what feels like the sort of the start of Boruto, and we're getting into the really good stuff right about now. Because you can see the Kara intrigue is starting to build up with, you know, ooh, Kashin Koji, Boro, what's going on there? And then the anime is actually doing a good job at setting up, you know, like, oh, here's some interesting information about Code with these new scenes that we don't have from the manga. And then, you know, as far as like the stuff where they actually did adapt what was going on here, again, you know, they use flashback, you know, relatively heavily here, you know, reflecting on the death of Mugino and everyone being upset about it, but they know they have to engage Ao again because he's coming for the data that they have. So even if they try to run, he's going to follow them, so they pretty much have to fight. And just covering that they have ninja tools on hand that they brought from the lab, but that Ao has them as well. They come up with their tactics for how they're going to try and defeat him. But Katasuke also has a bit of an arc here where he finally reveals to everyone that during the Chunin exams he was under Genjutsu, and that part of the reason why everyone else has good ninja tools is because he leaked it. So saying this in front of Boruto is also sort of a major reveal, in that he has sort of disliked Katasuke a little bit because he sort of blames him for like manipulating him into using the ninja tools. Because again, if you ignore the Genjutsu part, that's what he was doing. He was just trying to market his tools to basically make it look really good in front of everyone. But as he explains here, the Genjutsu sort of amplifies aspects that are present within the person, but to a kind of very large degree. So I suppose Katasuke wants his ninja tools to succeed, but the Genjutsu sort of amplified that to where he was willing to sort of, you know, use Boruto to his advantage. And so it gives Boruto a different perspective of just this person he was actually pretty close with before hasn't actually betrayed him, and that it was the result of a Genjutsu, and it was Ao's fault actually. So a lot of that information kind of coming to the forefront, and just there's a reason to fight now. That everyone wants the ninja tools to be better. The Katasuke Boruto sort of reunion scene I thought was, you know, very well done. Of just Boruto gets ninja tools now. It's about how you use the ninja tools, and that's basically the setup going into the next episode, which I believe is going to be called How You Use It. So Boruto is actually going to be using ninja tools in the fight against Ao, and I suppose it's going to be this interesting dynamic of Ao has abandoned being a shinobi and wants to get away from that life, and is going to solidify that by defeating shinobi using just ninja tools, whereas Boruto has gone from using ninja tools but in a bad way to then not using ninja tools at all and focusing just on, you know, his own skills as a ninja, Now he's actually going to incorporate both of them together, use ninja tools in the right way and in clever ways as well. So we're going to get to see a ninja incorporating a lot of these new ninja tools into their arsenal. So that's what the intrigue in the fight coming up is going to be about. Ao as sort of, I suppose, at this point, a ninja tool focused character versus Boruto, who, like Naruto, is known for his sort of clever tactics. How will he incorporate them in? And then how will the others also come in as well? Because let's not forget, like, Sarada has like her sort of grenade thing, and there's a lot of other tools at play here. But they did that well. Like that is an important emotional beat that you have to have within this arc that is focused very heavily on ninja tools, is having Boruto make up with Katasuke and just in front of everyone just clarify that he is actually at this point okay with using ninja tools, and he's actually excited about using it. So they set up that, oh yeah, the sword, he really likes the chakra sword, but wow, it drains him in like 2 seconds. So he wants to use that. It's a powerful tool, like that is a finisher if there ever was one, but can he use it effectively? So he seems set on, well, I'm going to have to go in with it and basically only activate it as I'm about to strike. That's the only way to use it in battle, but it could be a big surprise hit. So that's an interesting setup there. So I suppose after that, like, we kind of have to get into the Kara scenes. So it's primarily Delta and Code talking, and obviously Code suspects everyone else because he's like basically heard the information that Jigen suspects one of the inners. So he's kind of going through them in like numerical order, he explains, and Delta is his kind of first one to check up on, and he's basically being like, oh, I'm going to blame you for it and see what happens. And you see sort of how like petty and like childish he actually is in this scene, because he's like, Delta says she didn't do it, and then he later comes back and is just like, oh, you didn't give an excuse for why you didn't do it, or why, like, there's evidence that I didn't do it, so that means you actually did do it. And the only reason these two are stopped from having a full-on battle against each other is Amado arriving in to sort of clarify the situation of that, like, oh yeah, your recent maintenance checks were to check if you were the one who did this. But then, of course, it's brought up that, oh, Boro didn't undergo the maintenance check, and Kashin Koji didn't either, because where is he? He's out in the field, and that's when we set up the Kashin Koji and Ao scene. So, again, Kashin Koji, Ao had the scene right towards the start of Ao getting involved in things, and now he's kind of come back into it. Just setting up like, okay, I didn't expect you to let them away with this. Is this your sort of shinobi side coming back out a bit? But no, Ao just setting in stone that, no, I'm not a shinobi anymore. I'm a part of Kara. I use ninja tools. I'm going to use the tools to kill all of them to get the data back. So he is full on loyal to Kara at this point. And, there's a bit of a, emotional arc there in that he was ultimately saved by Katasuke, but now he's sort of gone against that, and how his attitude about ninja tools, and has gone more down the Kara way of using ninja tools for bad. So that's quite nice. And so anyway, it sets up a few things of just like, Boruto of course has a bit of a dynamic with Ao. Katasuke has a dynamic with Ao, and then I suppose Konohamaru does as well, because Ao killed Mugino. So there's a lot of that sort of stuff going on, and then we know Kashin Koji's in the area, so is he going to make an appearance? Things like that are kind of quite interesting. I suppose the final thing to talk about would just be one thing Delta said to Code was that, I actually think you might be the traitor because you're actually the happiest of everyone about the vessel being lost, aren't you? And he basically can't really deny that that's how things are, which is very, very interesting, because we don't know basically anything about Code in the manga. And there's a bit of a, like, okay, is Code going to do anything? The anime is actually giving us really good information on Code. And this is probably one of the maybe clearest hints about, like, oh, why would he be happy that the vessel is gone? Is it just that he's, he likes being like Jigen's number one, basically? So is he just happy that the vessel, which Jigen has been focusing on a lot, is gone, so potentially Jigen will focus on him again? Or is it because this vessel is like the new vessel and the old vessel was code? Is that kind of what they're getting towards? And that could be very interesting if that's the interpretation, given where the manga is right now. So that's actually quite cool in terms of like, if they do maybe surprise us in the anime with a kind of more notable reveal about code, it could actually give us, a interesting insight into maybe where the manga might actually go, where it is right now. So that's something that's kind of interesting to consider. But yeah, this episode, it was good in terms of it did what it needed to do. It covered this section of the story pretty well, but it still was ultimately a setup episode in between action moments. And so it's always that hard thing to do when like you're up here because of the start of the action, character dying, and then you have to go back down here to set things up. And now we're going to get back up into the heavy action. And the hope here probably, I think, is that they really cover most of the fight next time out. Because, as much as this arc is great, everyone wants to get to introduce Kawaki. That's when things are really going to kick off. Kawaki being introduced as a character, I think, takes Boruto as a series to sort of the next level, because all of a sudden we have that sort of rival character. We have that character who he's going to interact with a lot of the main cast and change the way they feel about things, and he has an arc of his own. And character arcs in Boruto have maybe been a little bit difficult to come by, but with Kawaki you have that character who actually has a lot of impact. So that's a huge positive for sure. So yeah, the hope here is that they basically are going to have to cover the core of 2 full chapters minus a handful of pages in the next episode. But we'll see what they do. So in the comments, let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. But also, yeah, they're my thoughts. Let me know what you think. That's been the video. Thanks for watching, and bye.